afternoon, everybody. How is your day going? I hope you're having a beautiful day. It is my prayer that you get to have a fruitful and rewarding day ahead of you. You're welcome to Legal Clues on Emirate Radio. And you, of course, as you know, on Legal Clues, we bring you legal tips on how to be intentional on living a crime-free life. We give you tips that will help you to make informed decisions in life, to be able to be intentional about living a crime-free life. My name is Damilola Obadimeji, your host on this program, and on today's episode of Legal Clues, we'll be discussing the topic acquisition of property. Acquisition of property, or you can also say acquisition of real estate. As we know, acquisition means how to own, a way of owning. So acquisition of property refers to the process of gaining ownership or right over a real estate property. When we're talking about acquisition, it means how you purchase or buy properties, real estate properties. Of course, real estate properties are usually immovable, like lands, buildings, and host of it. Unlike properties that can be immovable. Such as lands, buildings. Unlike movable properties like cars and personal effects. So today we'll be talking about acquisition of properties, how you can buy properties, the steps you should go about while purchasing it, and the need to have, of course, legal practitioners, your solicitor, involved for you to be able to have a hitch-free transaction. So, like I said, acquisition of property is a way of owning properties, and of course, real estate is about property in form of buildings and lands. It does not usually involve personal properties that are movable, like furniture, cars, and a host of it. So when you're talking about real estate, you're talking about real properties, and they are of different types, ranging from residential properties you buy for the purpose of living in, commercial properties that you buy for the purpose of commercial transactions. We also have bare lands that you buy for the purpose of probably reselling in the future or developing in the future. And of course, while in the process of property acquisition, there are factors that help you to decide on what you should do, whether you should go for this particular property or you should not. Part of the factor is one, location. People who are looking out to buy properties sometimes prefer, locations that are highly developed. Some will prefer locations that are not so developed for the purpose of buying the properties for future purposes. But depending on whatever you want, location is also a factor that will determine whether you're going to be purchasing a property or not. Another one is developmental level. We have people who prefer to buy properties that are already developed, like existing buildings. We have people that prefer to buy bare lands that they will just develop on their own. Of course, there are also other factors that the property age and style can also be a factor. If a property is old, for example, it will not be going for, a high price like a property that is new and newly built. So so many factors can affect your choice of property to purchase or to buy. So while going through the process of property acquisition, there are a lot of things, step-to-step transactions, step-to-step guide on how to help you to acquire your property. Firstly, there are different ways in which properties can be owned. First one is gift. We have probably parents or friends who want to gift their friends or their child a property, for example. We have a lot of times people will ask you, if I want to gift my child a land, for example, how do I go about it? Will I do a deed of transfer? Will I have to do an agreement? Of course, you have to do an agreement, but it's known as a deed of gift. That's what we call a deed of gift under the law, wherein you can, gift anybody you want, any property, depending on how you want to share it. So there's a deed of gift you're going to do in case of gift. You can also acquire property by way of probate or letter of administration. There are cases where we have people who died leaving a will behind, and in their wills they had already named their beneficiaries that they want to own one thing or the other from their properties. So it's also a way of owning a property. And in case somebody dies without will, we call it intestate. If a person dies intestate, the Next of kin can apply for what we call letter of administration at the probate registry of the court to be able to, know how to share the properties. So you can also gain property, acquire your property through that means. Another means of gaining property is by sale of land. So sale of real estate. This is the commonest way of acquiring property, wherein a party sells a property to another person. That is what we call sale of real estate. That is a common method of property acquisition. It involves the transfer of the entire right, title, and interest in the land or a building from somebody we call the vendor, some people will call it transferor, to the purchaser or the transferee for a valuable consideration. The difference between that sale and gift is that in gift, you are giving out the property without any consideration. While on the sale, there must be a consideration attached to it. So that is the difference between gift and sale of land. Now, when you want to go about your transaction, your acquisition of property transaction, there are some things you should bear in mind, ranging from how to start, what to do, how to go about it. And the first thing I name here is understanding the nature of your property. In understanding the nature of your property, this is the stage that you try to do physical inspection of what you want to buy. Probably somebody has approached you and said, I want to sell this property to you. The first thing to do is, I want to know the property you're selling to me. I want to see how it is. If the person calls the property is a 2 plot of land, 1 acre, 1 hectare, you want to confirm if it is actually what it is, so that it's not going to lead you in a situation of what I ordered versus what I got. So you should be able to understand the nature of the property that you want to purchase. The next one here is that you should research who is selling to you. You should research who is selling a particular property to you. There are situations where people who purport to, or who declare themselves as the seller of a particular property are not the actual owner of the properties. So it's going to be a problem if someone who has no title is transferring a property to you. Of course, it's going to be a problem. So the second stage of it is to research the person who is selling to you, whether the person is the actual owner or whether the person has any authority or any legal standing to sell that property to you. And when you get that, you verify whether the person is the true owner. It's another thing to have an authority to sell. There are situations whereby somebody will have power of attorney, wherein the person can act on behalf of the owner to sell. And of course, the person does not automatically become the owner of the property. The person is just standing in gap, acting on behalf of the person who owns the land. Another thing you should do before you make payment is to investigate the documents given to you. If it's a case of probably ROO, like right of occupancy, or a certificate of occupancy, it will be reasonable to get search done at the land registry to confirm whether the land belongs to the person who wants to sell, and to confirm also whether the land is encumbered in any way, whether there's a litigation on it or any other encumbrance that can be on the land. So it's always advisable and good for you to do search at the land registry to be able to be sure that this land you want to buy is genuine and of course it's not encumbered in any way. Then again, you can now go to making your payment and you collate your right documentation. Once you make payment, you're going to be needing a lawyer, of course, to do your deed of transfer or deed of assignment, as the case may be for you, which will evidence the fact that you have actually purchased the document with the one that is going to be giving you your title. So those are the things you should put in mind when you want to acquire property. And of course, after paying and doing your deed of transfer or assignment, you should file your documentation of your new purchase with the state government. It's not under compulsion, but it's always advisable to do that. You take it a step further to secure your ROO, right of occupancy, and gradually to your certificate of occupancy. By this way, you know, even with the government, you are assured that you're the real owner of the new property that you have, of course, purchased. Those are the steps you need to look into when you want to get your property acquired, when you want to acquire your properties. Now, after you have done all these steps, there are so many things that you need to bear in mind, and one of which is that you cannot do this transaction on your own. You cannot do all these transactions on your own. You need the effort and the expertise of a solicitor to help you in ensuring that you have a smooth transaction. And part of the things that a solicitor will do for you on the property acquisition is that your lawyer will help you to carry out all your necessary searches. Of course, your lawyer has been doing this for quite a number of years. He or she will know how to go about conducting search on the land that you want to purchase for you. Of course, your lawyer also knows how to go about doing due diligence. Doing due diligence with relevant authorities, and can even help you do physical inspection of the land to be able to be sure that this land you want to purchase is genuine. We lawyers know how to go about all these things. There are some questions lawyers will put to the purported seller that you as the buyer might not know and you would not even think about. It's after the lawyer has put some questions to the seller and some informations are coming out that you'll be confused. You'll be wondering, wow, what is happening? So a lawyer will help you to carry out all your necessary searches. Another reason why you need why lawyers are important in property transactions, that lawyers can check the records of ownership of the property, and they can also help you to review all existing proof of ownership and trace your root of title. A lawyer knows how to ask questions to know that this is the first person who owned this land, then he sold to another person who in turn want to sell to you. A lawyer will know how to trace this root of title to be able to be sure that you are not about to be scammed. Another reason why lawyers are important in property transaction is that your lawyer can help you to establish the true identity of the legal owner of a property, and it will ensure that the person who is trying to sell to you has the legal right, the title, and the authority to sell. Also, another importance of lawyers in property transaction is for your lawyer to be able to prepare a proper deed of transfer or deed of assignment for you. Lawyers are trained as solicitors to do this kind of transactions, this kind of agreements and documentations. So they're going to help you to give you a good title document that will help you to secure your land. It's amazing when some people will buy properties, they have money to purchase properties, but when it's time for them to pay to get their deed title documents done, they start making excuses. And this is a document that will give you your title. This is the document that will evidence the fact that you are the rightful owner now. So it's always good to get this document done. Your lawyer can also help you to perfect your title. After you have purchased the land, after your documentation has been done, the next thing is to proceed to land registry to perfect your title. Lawyers knows how to go about perfecting your title. By this we mean right of occupancy, certificate of occupancy, registration of titles generally. So these are all the things that the lawyers will help you to be able to have a smooth transaction, and at the end you will not blame yourself. In property transaction, there are a lot of documents that are usually in place. A lot of documents are usually in place in property transaction, and it ranges from what we call survey plan. Some people try to get the land they want to purchase surveyed. Some who is the seller now will prefer to have surveyed the land before they sell. Survey plan is a document that provides the buyer with information on the actual location and boundaries of a property. A survey plan will also help you to review whether the land is under any government acquisition or not. As you know, you don't want to buy a property that is under government acquisition from someone who is not who is not government. If you must purchase a land that is under government acquisition, it's always advisable that you purchase it directly from the government. So a survey plan will help you to know everything you need to know about the land and to know whether the land is under government acquisition or not. Another document needed in property transactions, what we call deed of assignment. A land that is covered with a certificate of occupancy, for example, once you purchase such land, it is the right document to be done is what we call deed of assignment. So you are being assigned the residual of the years that the government has allotted to you. You are assigning it to another person. So it's deed of assignment. And deed of assignment, of course, like I said, is a document that is used to transfer an interest in the property from one person to another. We hear sometimes when you are hearing property transaction, you will have heard about what we call certificate of occupancy. This certificate of occupancy certifies the legal ownership status of any land or property in Nigeria, irrespective of its use. Whether there are people that are living on it, some people are farming on it, it is a seal of O that will let you know the actual ownership, the legal ownership status of the person who is selling. So we also would have heard what we call governor's consent. Governor's consent is what we call the approval of a state government by by himself or through his designated commissioner to any property transfer. There are also other documents you probably would have been hearing about, contract of sale. Sometimes when you want to purchase a land and the payment has not been fully paid, you first make what we call contract of sale, wherein you put your terms, how you want to be paying the other money in installments, and a host of it. There are a lot of documents involved in a property transaction, which as a layman you probably would not know how to go about it, or probably know the meaning, but a solicitor, of course your lawyer, will know how to go about it for you and will know how to help you. Like we said, let's have a recap, like I said, on the stages of property acquisition, so that you will not fall victim of scam. A lot of people that set out to scam people. We've seen situations whereby people sell lands to about 4 different individuals. So it is important to go through each stage of property acquisition and property transaction properly and well before you jump into payment. The first stage I said earlier is the pre-contract stage, where you get to familiarize yourself with the property that you want to buy. Of course, you're going to go there, inspect it. It involves physical inspection at this stage. After all these questions has been asked, you have gone there, you have ascertained this is actually the land they want to sell to me. They said it's 2 plots, it's 2 plots. They said it's 1 acre, it is 1 acre. You have confirmed it. Then you go to the contract stage that will involve negotiations. You talk about the terms, the conditions, the amount involved, which we call considerations, and you draft out a formal contract out. Then you go to the post-contract stage, whereby all your documentations will be done and you're going to perfect your title. Now, as a matter of advice, there are some landed properties we as lawyers will not advise you to purchase. And the first of it is a property without a traceable root of title, or where the seller is not the verifiable owner of the property. Where somebody wants to sell a property to you, the person cannot provide any means of any evidence of ownership. He cannot provide any title document evidencing that he's the owner of the land. Then you should run away from that kind of land. Or a land where the person who wants to sell is probably giving you stories. The owner is in Abuja. He will see you. Run away from properties that can bring issues to you. Another form of property that you should run away from buying as a property that is encumbered with litigation. This is the essence of searches that lawyers will help you to do. When you have a search done at the land registry, you will know whether a land is encumbered or subject to litigation. If it's a land that is not registered with the government, there are ways you can go about your due diligence that you would be sure, that this land is a subject of litigation or is not. You don't want to buy court case now. Why are you buying a land that is subject to litigation? So you should run away from a land that is encumbered with litigation. By litigation, we mean court dispute. Probably 2 families are fighting over a land. They're already in court. That is what we mean by litigation. You run away from such property. Another form of property you should run away from is property with no clear title document or proof of ownership. Like I said earlier, run away from it. If they cannot provide you with genuine documents evidencing that the actual owner is the seller now is the actual owner of the land, then you should run away from such property. Then run away from property under government acquisition, except of course you are buying from the government. If you are not buying from the government, you know that probably the government has marked it as government reserved area or is under government acquisition, you should run away from such kind of properties. Also run away from properties that you have not inspected. Sometimes people will tell you, oh, we have 10 plots here. If you rush to pay and you have signed your document, you have changed and exchanged documents between yourselves, you can get there and discover it's actually 8 plots, not 10. So inspect your land, check it, be sure of what you are buying, so that it will not be a case of what I ordered versus what I got. And of course, run away from property of a deceased person without will or without letters of administration. There are situations that probably a man owns a land and is late, and one of the children want to sell. You should be sure that the child that is about to sell is the rightful person to sell, probably on the will, if it's been willed the property to, or if there's anything we call letter of administration that names him as a next of kin, that gives him the power to sell on behalf of the estate of the deceased person. Where you cannot ascertain that the property of a deceased person has probably will or letter of administration on it, then you should run away from such kind of property, because it can give you issues in the future. There'll be cases where you will see children of the same parents fighting over properties, and people who they have probably sold some part of the property to will be victims. And of course, you cannot transfer what you don't have. You, who is the buyer now, you have yourself to blame when you know of a truth that the name of this child who sold to you is not the actual name of the owner on the document they showed to you, and you went ahead to purchase such kind of land. You're going to have yourself to be blamed. So all these are the things, the kind of properties that you should run away from buying. So understand the nature of the property you want to purchase. It is important. Research who is selling the property to you. Verify the true owner of that property. And of course, make payment only when you are sure that the person is the actual owner of the property. So it is important. So buying your property is a big deal. If it's not your first property, it probably might not be a big deal. If you have been buying and buying and buying, you might have been used to it. But if it's your first property, for example, it is a big deal. But it can also be an intimidating experience if you are not familiar with the real estate slangs and procedures. So, the country's real estate market has peculiar terms and processes that could make it a bit challenging for someone who doesn't know how to navigate their land purchase. Therefore, it is important to get yourself professionals who can help you, probably lawyers, solicitors, or estate agents that can help you and give you an each free transaction. So it is a significant step that when you're buying a property, and understanding the terms there is also very important. It will help you to make right decisions. It will help you to navigate the real estate market well. It will help you to buy and invest your property or your money wisely. And in all, it is important to know that real estate is lucrative. Probably as an investor, you want to go into real estate business. It is a business that is very lucrative, and which we advise people to go into. If you want to go as a buyer, it is important for you to know that the earlier the better. Properties are appreciate as time goes by, so it's better if you're ready to buy it at the moment, you go for it instead of procrastinating it. So it is important to know that you need the expertise of professionals that will help you to go about having each free transaction. And in all, be vigilant. Do searches. Know for a fact that you can be scammed. You can be a victim of scam if you do not tread carefully while acquiring property. So this is where we're going to end today's topic and today's program. And until next week, when we'll come back again to give you another interesting discussion on legal clues. Stay blessed, relax. God bless you all.